Hi guys, welcome back. Today we've got a Freelander remote key. Apparently isn't working. Let's have a test. Seems to be working okay, but we'll take it apart and have a look, see what's inside it. While we're here, let's also read it, make sure the transponder's working. And as you can see, high tag 46 locked. We'll set that down over there. We'll grab a big screwdriver and just pop the back off. There we go. It's worth noting you do have to normally change the case once you've taken these apart. Let's go ahead and pop this all the way open. Try not to go too deep because we don't want to damage the circuit board underneath. Just going to push it along the groove there and then give it a twist. Now what generally happens with these is the negative terminal breaks off. Let's just have a look. So with this one we can actually see a little bit of damage on the transponder coil here. So that could be what's wrong with this one. Just going to give it some force upwards to see if the negative's broken and see if we can just pop off the battery. It seems to be pretty well attached. Just going to pop this in here, see if there's any movement, see if we can see down the side. And yeah, that is broken. So the next thing we want to do is we'll power up the soldering iron and pop this battery off. So we'll go for the positive one first, a little bit of flux. And we've got a soldering iron and a bit of desolder braid. And we'll just pop that on there and see if we can pull off as much solder as we can. Because it will just make it easier when we want to pop the battery out. This terminal should open up quite good and we can actually see there, hopefully you can see it on camera, there's no solder left on it. Now we're going to pop a little bit of flux on the negative. This one's a little bit trickier because we don't want to get our soldering iron near any of these resistors. And I'm actually just going to trim the end of my solder wick off so we've got a nice fresh bit to deal with. And we'll just lift that solder up. And that's taken nicely. Hopefully, yeah, that's all the solder off that one. Now we can go ahead and just pop the battery off. There we go. Might have to use a little bit of soldering iron just to free up the terminal again. These can be a bit of a pain to get off. There we go, that one's off, that one's off. And as you can see on there, you might not be able to see it, but the negative on the battery has snapped. And I imagine, yeah, there it is, the negative terminal on our desolder braid. So now we know that's all good, that's all nice and clean. We're just going to go ahead and give it a little bit of spray to clean off any flux that we have on here. Just doing this off camera so it drips onto the floor and not onto my soldering mat. Give that a blow, that's all now nice and clean. Now we can look at rebuilding it all. So here's our new case with our new blade. Let's just pop the case apart. There we go, and there's our new battery. So we'll set this case aside for now, and what we need to do is just pop the battery out of here. So flat head in, and it's just kind of a twisting motion until it pops out. As we're getting the battery holder out, it is a pain. There we go. And if I turn that upside down and put it up against the other battery, you can quite clearly see the negative snapped off. So we're going to go ahead and pop that back in its holder, making sure we don't damage the legs, like so. And now we can pop that back on the circuit board. Just got to line up that negative leg. It is a bit fiddly. It should fit through relatively straightforward. There we go. That's it. Got it now. And then line up the positive leg. There we go. That's all popped into place. And now you can hopefully see we've got the negative leg protruding here, and the positive leg protruding here. Now what we've got to do is get a soldering iron out again. And just give that a little bit of heat. And just solder it in place. And this is extremely common on all of the Freelander 2s that use the key that slots into the dashboard. I've done lots and lots of these. Heat up the negative, get some solder on. That looks like it's got it. And then the last thing to do is test it. So turn on our tester, and then what buttons have we got? Lock, the unlock, the headlight button, trunk release, and panic alarm. There we go. Pop that back into its case, into its new case rather, I should say. Make sure that's the right way up, which it is. Pop the back on. There we go. And then it's just a case of, don't have to, but we'll probably cut a new blade just so it all looks nice and new. And for this, we're going to be using the X-Tool key reader and the X-Horse Dolphin. And it's normally powered off my phone, which is obviously recording right now. So I'm going to get the Key Tool Max out to enable us to actually control the key machine. We'll just have a quick tidy up. So now this old case can just go in the bin down there. This battery we'll put in the recycling pile. There we go. Agree to enter. And we're going to scroll along until we get to Dolphin. And of course it's all in Chinese. However, we can go for Ford because we know it's a Ford key blade, all key blanks. And we want HU101 just there. Hopefully it's now going to connect to our device. There we go, you can hear it. And okay. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to move the camera. Is we'll take the old key blade and pop it in the key reader. There we go. And now on here we're going to press identification. And identify. given us all the data we need, although it hasn't quite read it right. So what we'll do is we'll come back out of that, and we'll just lift the key up a little bit, just to let a little bit more light in. And then we'll go back to here and identify. And that looks like it might have read it a bit better. Let's just move it in the light. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And we know from the rules that it always ends in a 2. So I'm pretty confident that's got that correct. Now we're going to press to cut and cut key. And hopefully it's going to connect to our Dolphin machine. I need to help it out a little bit. There we go, that's connected. And as you see, we've got a picture on the screen there. So let's just put that against there, and that looks like it's about right. And cut key. It's a little bit more clunky on this because normally I'd use my phone. If it doesn't sort its life out, I'll stop recording, cut it with my phone, and then come back to you. But effectively, that's how we then repair Freelander 2 slot dash key. Thanks for watching.